I was sent this story by one of our sisters in the UK, and she sent it through an email, and I thought this was very interesting. What this sister sent to us. Now, I'm gonna just read part of the email. She stated that she's been watching the videos and found them informative, and she lives in the UK, and presently our older generation, most of them 50 years old, that arrived here in the 50s and 60s as British citizens from the Caribbean after being invited here by England to rebuild the country after the Great Wars, especially World War II. He said many arrived here as children that traveled with their parents' passports. The conservative government, the equivalent of your Republicans in the USA, those people over there too, God help you, destroyed their paperwork deliberately, that figures, and now systematically deporting British citizens. I've included two links below. One of the citizens have died secondary to the stress he suffered, named Mr. Dexter Bristol. Another one is being denied cancer treatment due to this government's debauchery. And they said if you could help us shed some light on this. And this is what we plan on doing. Our platform is not only highlighting things here in the U.S. and what happens to us, but also throughout the diaspora. And that's what black media is supposed to be about. So on the first video that I'm going to show you is going to be just a little history on what this sister was stating, how the brothers and sisters came from the Caribbean and how they were invited over there to come help build up their country, as she stated.
London, this lovely city.
When they contrasted the standard of living, even in wartime Britain, with what they'd known previously, many decided to return after the war and make their permanent homes here. As citizens of the Commonwealth, they were fully entitled to do this. But many found there were quite a lot of things that would take some getting used to.
The climate is something you can't really sneeze off. That's terrific. You can't begin to imagine what England is like.
Buildings were so dismal and so old. Yes, brother, England was cold.
Food, that makes an awful lot of difference too, because I mean in the West Indies things are highly seasoned and all that, whereas the English food is very, very plain, very, very mild.
All too often, the jobs they were offered were those that white workers weren't too keen on taking. Lowly paid positions, or jobs where the work was hard or heavy, or both. In some situations, they've made themselves quite indispensable. It's difficult, for instance, to see how the transport systems of London and Birmingham could now function without them.
I expected it to be much more advanced. The buildings to be higher and everything to be much quicker, faster, you know.
I found the place very disappointing, Lord. Yes, the sight was frightening.
Hello. Imagine a festival specifically dedicated to women and girls, honoring their cultures, traditions, and religions. That is exactly what the annual festival in Ethiopia called Ashinda is all about. Women and girls across Ethiopia participate through songs, dance, and costume. Last year, our team was fortunate enough to cover this amazing celebration, and we were all moved by the sights, sounds, beauty, and love shown at the event. The annual festival takes place again this August in Ethiopia, and our team plans to travel there this year to cover the event. We will capture the beauty of Ethiopia and connect with the people during the trip. But we need your help. As I'm sure you know, transporting a crew across the world is pricey. We need you in order to make this all possible. We are seeking donations of any size to help fund the trip. It is important for African Americans to tell our own stories. Women and girls in America don't currently have a celebration like Ashinda. Our hope is that by sharing the traditions of our sisters in Ethiopia, something similar may someday be developed. Please help make this a reality by clicking the link in the pinned comment to make a donation.
Funny thing that I heard in that clip just now is the sister said that the food was bland, the place was cold, nothing like the Caribbean. Because, you know, we used to season our food. We used to that. We were not used to no bland food. That's why a lot of times, you know, black people say, man, I can't be eating with white folks cook too much because they don't season their food. As black folks, we always season our food. And, you know, the Caribbean is a warm climate. It's more closer than what we are used to as, you know, black people. Now, so you got all the Caribbean black people, which is Africans, to go over there and help rebuild your country because you had a labor shortage. They rebuild that country, help it get to where it's at today, and then now you want to come up and say, oh, well, they're illegal immigrants because they don't have papers. See, this is what they did. They didn't give them any kind of paperwork, and the little bit that they did have, they said the conservative government that they have, they tore it up. So now you want to kick out all the Caribbean Africans out of the country after they help you build up your stuff. You notice that they can't do nothing without black people. Do you notice this country wouldn't be where it's at without for black people's free labor and black people's free labor now in prisons? Would be, they need black people. They have never operated without black people. Same thing over there. They had to come and get black people to come build their country back up because they couldn't do it themselves. They could have went to European countries and asked for people to come in from European countries. They could have did that. Why they want to reach out to black people to come over there to help them build their stuff up? I just want you to pay attention to that. So you have people today that now they consider illegal immigrants and they're going after black people and trying to throw them out when they help them build the country. They are British citizens. They had their kids there. They made their lives there. You brought them over there. But now it's a problem and you want to kick them out. Now I want you to watch on the next clip. You have a brother that went to visit his family in Jamaica and tried to come back and watch what they did to him. Then also one of the brothers as a politician as over there is going in on the situation as well. Let's roll that clip.
From 2010, the government's doing everything it could to cut immigration numbers.
We would like to see net immigration in the tens of thousands rather than the hundreds of thousands.
A huge part of that was tackling illegal immigration.
This is not just about making the UK a more hostile place for illegal migrants, it is also about fairness. What this bill does is actually make it harder for people who are here illegally to be able to carry on living in the UK.
It's important for Britain, but it's got to be controlled and managed so that the system is fair.
They met with a bunch of migrants in Calais. They said they could all come to Britain.
They set up this task force to create what they called a hostile environment for anybody who didn't have exactly the right documents, forgetting, I think, that a huge number of people who are in the UK legitimately, the Windrush generation, and other Commonwealth migrants, don't have papers, and so they weren't able to prove their legitimate right to be in the country.
I had all my education in this country. I've worked in this country. I've lived in this country. I'm an Englishman. I couldn't understand why, why.
Hear rumours that, this returnee resident thing can take up to 6 months. So he thought, I could be here for 6 months.
Between this country and the West Indies and Caribbean is inextricable. The first British ships arrived in the Caribbean in 1623, and despite slavery, despite colonisation, 25,000 Caribbeans served in the First World War and Second World War alongside British troops. When my parents and their generation arrived in this country under the Nationality Act of 1948, they arrived here as British citizens. It is inhumane and cruel for so many of that Windrush generation to have suffered so long in this condition, and for the Secretary of State only to have made a statement today on this issue. Can she explain how many have been deported? She suggested earlier that she would ask the High Commissioners. It is her department that has deported them. She should know the number. Can she tell the House how many have been detained as prisoners in their own country? Can she tell the House how many have been denied health under the National Health Service? How many have denied pensions? How many have lost their job? This is a day of national shame, and it has come about because of a hostile environment policy that was begun under her Prime Minister. Let us call it as it is. If you lay down with dogs, you get fleas. And that is what has happened with this far-right rhetoric in this country. Can she apologise properly? Can she explain how quickly this team will act to ensure that the thousands of British men and women denied their rights in this country under her watch in the Home Office are satisfied?
Mr. Speaker, I share the Honourable Gentleman's admiration for the people who came here from the Caribbean and contributed so much to our society in many, many different ways, and that admiration remains in place. I am concerned that the Home Office has become too concerned with policy and strategy and sometimes lose sight of the individual.
You know, a lot of these countries outside the U.S., they try to label themselves as, oh, no, we're not as bad as the United States with racism. But yet, this is things that they like to hide. And when it comes to black media, we want to expose it all, not just sit here and talk about what happens in the U.S. Because a lot of people say, oh, well, the U.K. is not like America, but yet you're messing with black people, period. You're targeting them. You're not even letting them get cancer treatment or any of the essential services. This one brother that I read happened to him is that he had a job and he lost his job and he'd been there for years because the employer deemed him as an illegal immigrant. So he needs to lose his job and he needs to get out of the country. No different than what they try to do over here. But the thing is, we are suffering worldwide. And we need to understand that they all on one accord with that. They agree with that completely. Don't let them talk about right wing and left wing. It's white supremacy. It's all the same thing. It's just two thought processes on how to enact white supremacy. You got one that want to be extremely savage with it, and you got the other one that want to be covert with it. But it's all the same thing at the end of the day. Because even though you have this so-called right wing, notice those on the other side, they don't really say much when they're doing that either, are they? They're not screaming in the streets. They're not protesting. They're not making a scene. They just go along with it. Why? Because it don't bother them. They're good. It bothers you. And all those black people, and I say to black people all over the world, don't be going to their countries helping them build a thing. You want to come build something? Help build the Caribbean. Help build African nations. That's what we can help build. Don't go build their stuff no more for them. Stay out of their military. Stay out of anything that builds them up. Stay out of it. They don't appreciate it. They don't appreciate you. In America, you can go fight for this country and come back and still get gunned down by the police. It could happen. They don't have no respect for you. We just covered a story the other day where you had two women that's in the military and this Caucasian female is fighting them. And one of them pregnant. They have no respect or anything when it comes to black people. So it don't matter what we do. It don't matter what conflict we get involved with them. I'm talking about in the area of fighting the wars. No matter what, they have no respect. But we need to start respecting ourselves. We need to build up nations that we have, like the Caribbean. We need to build up African nations. This is what we need to do. What's happening to them, is it wrong? Completely wrong. And yeah, they come out, apologize. And the only reason they apologize is when they get caught or when they get exposed. That's the only time they start apologizing. But if nobody expose them or nobody talk about what they got going on, they're going to do it. And to me, this is the intent of their heart. Forget the apology. The apology is fake. This is the intent of the heart. They want the black people out. It's just that simple. But actually, black people aren't flooding over there like they're talking about. Is actually the Arabs. They're the one that's flooding the country. But I don't hear them targeting them like that. You want to target the black people to actually help you build the country. That's just amazing to me. But shout out to all the brothers and sisters in the UK. You know, keep your head up. I say fight against it, because you built that country just as much as we have built this country. I don't believe all of us should just give up even America either, because how is it we going to give it up completely? And our ancestors built this country. Our ancestors built Washington, D.C. All the little places they in right now, it's because of the hands of African people completely. You wouldn't even have NASA. It wouldn't be for a black man. So we all should take a stand on that. But we also need to connect with African nations, Caribbean nations as well throughout the diaspora. But leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about this and how, once again, black people just being targeted. It don't matter where we at. Anywhere that you have a certain group of people in charge, you're always going to have that problem.